everybody. Welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Wednesday, July the 9th, 2025. And on the show tonight, a staff sergeant from the Rcmp went on CTV News last night, or maybe the night before, and said that she actually said this, and we have video. We're going to play this for you later on in the show. She said that people who were all about gender equality and are now leaning towards more traditional values are showing signs of extremism. And these are the things we need to be on the lookout for. Yeah, she said it. So we've got video of her saying it, and we're going to play it for you a little bit later on in the show. Also, Calgary Pastor Derek Reimer. You know Derek? He was arrested unjustly, not unlawfully, but unjustly a couple of months ago. He got out. And that's great news. Ontario doctors are baffled and alarmed by all the DIY medicine going on these days. When their patients come in for a checkup, their patients say, you know, I've diagnosed myself with this or with that or the other, and I'm taking natural remedies for it. And doctors are absolutely baffled and alarmed by this, but they think it's because of the internet. They think people are self-diagnosing because of the internet. They didn't give any thought at all, according to the story I'm going to give to you guys tonight, about the fact that people might not trust them anymore. Interesting, isn't it? Who's watching tonight? Maida, how you doing? Lance is watching tonight. Vicky is watching from Nova Scotia. Hello, Karen, watching in Saskatoon. Eddie is watching in Stonewall. Hello, Mike in Portage. Carla's watching in Calgary. Wanda's in Kelowna. Hello, Iris, watching in Calgary. Linda's watching in Ontario. Barb, hello, watching from sunny southern Manitoba. Patty is watching in the strawberry capital of Manitoba, Haddishville. Joker, or William, if you prefer, is watching tonight from Mississauga. Mireille is watching in Lacombe, Alberta. Patricia's in Grimsby, Ontario. Ellen is watching on Vancouver Island. Wherever you happen to be watching the show tonight, on whichever platform, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, even X. You could be watching on Telegram. You might be watching on Rumble. You could be watching on shadowdavis.com. Please give us a like and a share. Last night's show on vaccine injuries was stifled. I don't think it was Meta. I don't think it was Facebook who was doing it. I think it was the Canadian government. They're still trying to stifle the news of people who have actually been harmed by those experimental jabs. We did a reel about it earlier today, and the full show is available on all the platforms I just mentioned. So please go ahead and watch last night's show. It's packed with information from people, normal people, just like you and me, day-to-day, regular folks who got injured by this thing and now cannot get any help at all, at least not in Canada. It's shameful what our government's doing. And some real light stories you saw last night. Go back and watch that show. Now, you may notice a couple of things about tonight's show. Shadow looks different. Why? Well, the background is different, obviously. The streaming platform is not tying in well with the browser I'm working with. And so this is what it really looks like behind me. You guys get a little bit of a sneak peek. And also, I'm tearing down the studio, and I'm going to bring it out to BC. The reason that tonight is the final show of the week, usually we do one on Thursday through the summer, not Fridays, but Thursdays. The reason that I'm tearing down the show early this week is coming up right after this 30-second break. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. You're good. We're both good. That's great.
I'm
So
fine.
now this is my final show tonight. I was just telling everybody watching, this is the final show of the week, not the final show ever, just the final show of the week. And the reason for that is because my car came back from the shop today. All is good. It's working 100%. I'm jumping in there tomorrow morning, and I'm going to make my way out to you and Edgewood again for the big farm aid. I am excited to see you guys again. The big Farm Aid Festival coming up this weekend. Can you give us a breakdown? How many bands have you got? Who have you got coming out? What's it for? All that stuff.
Right. We've got a great lineup of about 13 to 14 bands. We have food trucks. We have incredible performers. Tamara Leach will be here performing before her sentencing. We have Arthur Pulowski speaking, doing Cowboy Church on Sunday. We've got the Tumbleweeds. We've got Blind Joe from season 9 of The Voice. We've got
Kootenai Jack.
Kootenai Jack. Yes, we got Kootenai Jack back. We've got an amazing lineup of talented artists. Jacqueline Rose. You can go to farmaidcanada.com and you can find out the names of all of the lineup on there, as well as the daily lineup.
You got family friendly too, right? Like who's the clown again?
Yes, we have Chris the Clown. For kids, we have face painting and real big bouncy castles. What would be a Farm Aid without bouncy castles and face painting?
Right.
It's going to be a fantastic time. I'm very excited. We are doing this before we enter off to Ottawa on July 15th. We have
hang on, Katie. Before we bring that up, and we do want to bring that up, we forgot to mention the ostriches. I mean, we've got face painting, sure. We've got bouncy castles. That's great for the kids. What was his name? Chris the Clown? Chris?
Uncle Chris the Clown.
Uncle Chris.
Yeah. And then we have the ostriches, 176 days healthy today, and absolutely beautiful. So come share in some pictures with them. Take the time to show the kids or the family. Come see them. And they love the attention. They love music. They love pictures. They just love it all. So come visit us in Edgewood, British Columbia, with Shadow's going to be emceeing the weekend. And we're really excited for the lineup of people, being with a bunch of like-minded people that are all wanting the same thing, and that is transparency, accountability, and change within a fractured and flawed organization in the Canadian government. So
yeah, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Yeah. So you are still battling them in court. So what's happening is Sunday morning, you got to take off. You and your mom got to take off to Ottawa for this big appeals case, which is Tuesday. Am I correct?
Correct. That's Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. at the DRC McGee building on Sparks in Ottawa. We don't know that there will be a Zoom link. I'm not too sure about that. We don't know who the judge is. We have a one-day appeal hearing only, so we're going to see where that takes us. We have a lot of hope, a lot of prayer. There's an amazing group of people. I've getting messages from people that they're flying out there, they're meeting us there, and I think this is the moment where we remember who has the power. It's we the people, that it's our voices that matter. It's the public court of opinion that matters. Some really disturbing information that I kind of stumbled upon on the internet the other day was old information from 2004, 2005 of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And it very clearly described their mindset back then. And their mindset back then was even that all farmers should consider themselves a visitor in their own barns. That no farms, it should be illegal to have cows, pigs, and chickens on the same property. Even though, I mean, in the 1800s, how long have we been having homesteads and animals? But now it's a threat.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: like, what context was that surrounding? Where did you find this information?
So it's in a journal that was published back then, and it was about one of their meetings. They had a large meeting. There was a lady who showed up to discuss the animal welfare and the cruelty of their stamping out procedures using CO2 gas, how inhumane, how so many animals were left half alive, the asphyxiation, the burning in the lungs, the pain that these animals are suffering, and witnessed it firsthand. And she was pulled out of that meeting and told that she should have brought that to their attention privately, and she said she did, and she had the proof there. They wouldn't let media in that meeting. They were controlling the narrative back in 2004, 2005. So this is decades ago. Mm-hmm. This is not something new. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency continues to operate with excessive freedom. accountability. There's no accountability. They don't answer to anybody. And this is what we just need to bring forth, is that we all deserve that change. Our small farmers are suffering. We are losing our small farmers, which have been the generational backbone to our country for generations. They supplying us with nutritional food supply. And the disturbing fact is the stamping out policy is creating the biggest problem, because we're stamping out natural immunity, which is causing zoonotic diseases and new viruses to spread, because we're having non-immune animals. They just don't have, we're losing the biodiversity, the genetic diversity within our herds and our flocks. And this is what we're fighting for. It's just, we're fighting for the ostriches. Obviously, they're 176 days healthy. To see them slaughtered is what we're fighting for, that they stay, that they get to have many more years of their lives on this farm that they deserve.
And for those who don't know the story, I mean, tell us about the ostriches, how old some of them are, how long they've been with you, what they are doing there in the first place. I mean, all of these things, people may not understand all of it just yet. Maybe they're just hearing it for the first time.
For sure. So we are Universal Ostrich Farms in Edgewood, British Columbia. Our oldest bird here is 35 years old. We've been in the ostrich industry for decades, for about 35 years. So they are personalities. They love to dance. They are unique. They are 9 feet tall, 350 pounds. They are prehistoric and have really unique feet with 2 toes that look very alligator-like. We have been working on antibody research for the last 4 years. It's been our pride and joy to bring something that is sustainable but natural to the forefront. Why are we at risk of these animals being slaughtered? Is because I really do believe that it's because we're bringing something natural to the table, which is contending with Big Pharma's main focus of vaccine reliance. And this is just all about natural immunity and antibodies, which you have, I have, and it's about encouraging that production inside ourselves rather than needing vaccinations and more medicine. So it's
there's something quite unique about these ostriches too, isn't there? I mean, they've got this wild immune system, more than any other species probably on the planet. Yeah, they've
lasted here for millions of years for a reason. They have an amazing, robust, natural their immune system. Their antibodies are out of this world. There's 100 chicken eggs worth of antibodies in one ostrich egg. So we've been using chicken antibodies for a very long time on this planet, and we just have something really cool and unique here that could offer human and animal welfare a chance to a better way than being culled and stamped out.
And synthetic vaccines with experimental synthetics in them that we don't need. And there's a reason, and a lot of people forget about this when they start questioning, because that's happened a little bit with Universal, and they forget why does the government want to stamp these ostriches out? Why do they want them gone so badly? That is the question that you should be asking yourself before you ever ask any other questions. What is it about these ostriches that the government hates so badly that they want to kill them? Because if it was an emergency, a real one, I mean, and they found out that there was an avian flu in, what was it, December? Mm-hmm. They said?
Off 2 PCR tests and no more testing. We're being threatened 6 months in jail and a $200,000 fine if we test our own animals independently still. They haven't visited the farm in over 4.5 months if we were such a big public health risk and a public threat.
Well, here we are in July. Has there been any outbreaks that you know of, Katie? Has there been anything that you've heard?
No. Nothing. How are you feeling, Shadow? I mean, you were here.
I feel great. Yeah, I was there for 2 weeks. I felt great. Never got sick once.
Yeah.
Must have a robust immune system.
Yeah, and we've had hundreds of people through here, and we've met some of the most incredible people. We've garnered international attention over them because they are a unique species. They're a unique animal. So they caught the attention. we've been able to educate, dispel the myths and the fear out of H5N1. And I really feel, in my opinion, that has pushed back the H5N1 crisis, because they didn't get to steamroll us with the fear that they were trying to do.
Yeah. What H5N1 crisis? What crisis? There's no
Yeah.
crisis. How do you feel going into the appeal court? I mean, this is kind of a big court. This is right next to the Supreme Court. Are you feeling confident? A little nervous, maybe? I'm
confident. I mean, it's been 6 months, and I have hope every day. When you think about it, I get emotional. It's been a long journey, and knowing how many people that this could help, and the precedents that could be set to change policy to save so many other millions of animals from harmfully dying, or dying in a torturous way, which from the CO2 gases. And we're killing the survivors. We are putting humanity at risk. I feel hopeful that with this momentum that we can create the change that's necessary for all of us. I really do.
I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Looking forward to seeing you too. And it's going to be a fantastic weekend. So please come join us. If you can't join us, try to follow one of the live feeds. I think, Shadow, are you going to do a show from here?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to bring my whole thing. I'm going to stick around for a week afterwards. I'm going to see you when you get back from Ottawa. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a show out there for sure. And you guys watching won't be able to tell the difference about where I am, because my virtual background will be working again by then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll see you in a couple of days. Hopefully we'll see you guys out in Edgewood as well. And we're coming right back in 30 seconds with more of the show. Thank you again, Katie. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shadow.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's continue with the Shadow at Night live stream. This story here from left-wing corporate CTV. Amid the arrest of 4 people for allegedly trying to start an anti-government militia and seize land near Quebec City, the Rcmp is warning of the dangers of online radicalization. The federal police force arrested and charged 4 Quebecers, 2 of whom are active members of the Canadian Armed Forces, according to the Department of National Defense, who were allegedly involved in activities of ideologically motivated violent extremism. What exactly is the definition of ideologically motivated violent extremism these days? Well, we've got an Rcmp staff sergeant who's going to tell us all in just a second. 3 of the individuals have been charged for taking concrete actions to facilitate terrorist activity, and 2 have been charged with various offenses related to weapons possession. Let me just drag this down here. We can never say that no one would have been involved, or that no one is planning the same kind of events in the country, because most of the recruiting and the radicalization is happening online, and the internet has no boundaries. That is Rcmp Staff Sergeant Camille Habel in an interview with CTV, when asked whether she's confident only the 4 individuals were involved. It's so omnipresent in our lives that we don't know where someone might be radicalizing or falling for that ideology. So, what ideology? All right, these people are trying to claim land near Quebec City. So something could happen somewhere else, and that's why we have teams all across the country that are working hard at ensuring our national security. The arrests come after searches conducted in January of last year in Quebec City led to the seizure of 16 explosive devices, 83 firearms and accessories, approximately 11,000 rounds of ammunition of various calibers, nearly 130 magazines, 4 pairs of night vision goggles, and military equipment. Wow. That sounds like one of the many gangs operating in Winnipeg or Vancouver, Abbotsford, Calgary, Toronto. Never hear about the ammunition those gangs have, do we? The Rcmp describes the charges as serious and adds the accused were close enough to advancing their plot for the police to make a move. I'm sorry, I just find this very difficult to believe, and you'll see why in a minute. In an interview with CTV News Tuesday, terrorism and intelligence expert Jessica Davis said more than 75% of the terrorist attacks that have taken place in Canada in the last 20 years have been ideologically motivated. Okay? We're not talking about Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State, said Davis, a former CSIS analyst and current president of Insight Threat Intelligence. We're talking about anti-government, anti-Muslim, incel. She actually used that word, types of terrorism that all fall into that category of ideologically motivated violent extremism. They are trying to drum up that narrative again. That Canadians, actual Canadians, long-term old stock Canadians, we're the problem. Davis added only about 20% of arrests over the same time period have been ideologically motivated violent extremism. So we're not really, I see. So everything she said before that is just a complete pile of feces. So we're really not disrupting this type of terrorism the same way that we're disrupting the religiously motivated violent extremism. I'm sorry, but those parades, those Palestine parades that go marching through the streets of Ottawa, Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver on the regular, would you call that religious extremism and terrorism to some degree? This expert goes on to say, I think that really points to the pervasiveness of this kind of issue in Canadian society and the difficulty the RCMP has traditionally faced in getting a handle on it. The Canadian Armed Forces issued a statement Tuesday saying they're aware of the arrests and charges laid by the RCMP. So this RCMP staff sergeant, what's her name again? Let's see if we can find her name real quick. Habel. Her name is Habel. Hang on a minute. Camille Habel. Here she is telling us all about who might be an extreme terrorist.
When you're finally, I wanted to ask, when you're talking about seeing individuals engage in that anti-authority and perhaps escalating their beliefs or their motives in that level, I'm wondering what the public can do in order to be vigilant, or what they can do to help in trying to ensure that there is safety and security on that front.
Well, radicalization in general quite often will show by people isolating themselves and changing their behavior, like changing what they're saying on a subject, like becoming more extremist. And if someone you know was very...
Okay, this is where it is. Listen to this.
Believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards like traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. But we
Wait. What? What?
Towards like traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. Gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards like traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. But we also have to remember that having the most extremist views is perfectly legal in Canada, and that it's only acting with violence to prove that view that becomes a criminal offense.
So she's suggesting that if you believed in gender rights and then your views shifted towards traditional values, which would be what? Home and hearth, family, husband, wife, traditional, God, Jesus, church. kids playing sports, community clubs, community engagement, church bazaars, street parties, trying to save some ostriches, then that makes you an extremist. Interesting. But remember, she says, she goes on to say, it's okay to have extreme ideas and extreme values in Canada. It's perfectly legal. Just don't act on them. Heaven forbid you want to stand up in front of an abortion clinic and say abortion is murder. Unbelievable. Now, let me ask you this, because she got a slight French accent there. Could this be something that was lost in translation? And I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. I am. Or is this something that the RCMP are trained up on? Are they trained up on the idea that if you have traditional family values in this country, which has been the case forever, and now suddenly, if you believed in gender equality, whatever, and when they say gender equality, they're not talking about men and women are equal. They're talking about you have the right to be whatever you want to be. And if you're a man in a dress, you have a right to call yourself a woman and go into the women's bathroom and go into the women's or the little girl's changing room if you identify as a 14-year-old girl on a swim team, let's just say. So is she talking about that? Or was it just a slip up? Derek Reimer, Pastor Derek Reimer, has been released from jail. From CBC. Calgary pastor known for library drag protests is back in jail after courthouse rally. So if you go and protest at a drag show where kids are at, then you, my friend, are an extremist. Here's some video. Watch.
Today, in the wake of Justice Shaw's decision, Derek Reimer is a free man within the context of what's been going on in the last 2 months. What's been going on is that he was arrested the day before his own appeal of the underlying conviction for an alleged breach of his house arrest conditions, also known as CSO, a conditional sentence order. So I say again, Derek Reimer is free to return to the community where he will continue serving a year-long house arrest sentence, but he ought to be freed by this evening at the latest. Yes, this isn't America where you're free to walk out of the courtroom. There needs to be expenses and services and processings, keep the bureaucracy happy. So this means the sheriff may be driving him back, technically in custody, back to the remand center for out processing. But as Andrew McKenzie just told me today, he is out as of today. That is the ramification of Justice Shaw's decision. We'll back up quickly again. There was an alleged breach on the 10th of April and an alleged breach on the 2nd of May because Derek Reimer came to the courthouse on a day he was due to be in the courthouse, but they're not happy that he continued in the time-honored tradition of advocating your cause on the courthouse steps, as you see, in a manner of speaking, behind me. So this was the alleged breach. Now, it's very interesting, the things that the Crown unwittingly reveals. Today, the Crown was Stephen Johnston, whom you might remember brought charges of conspiracy to commit murder against the Coots Four. He was here today to take up the position of Matt Delatovich, and as I have said before, Delatovich and Johnston, in practice, operate in the Special Office for Persecuting Speech, Beliefs, Opinions, and Free Expression.
That's good news that he's out, but the judge still seems to feel as though he could be in there based upon what he did and what he still believes. Extremist values. That was Shane Roberts, by the way, of Radio Shorter with that report. Now, speaking of these extremist values, remember the other day I said something like, should new immigrants that have come into our country have to speak our languages in public. Absolutely, they should. We have two official languages in this country. They're French and they're English. And in public, especially on the job, if you're working, I don't care where you are, it doesn't have to be a government job. If you're working in the service industry, especially, whether it's a convenience store, restaurant, whatever, you should be speaking not just to the customers in English, but to each other. All staff should be speaking in English or in French. If we lose our language, we lose our culture. It's that simple. Language is the tie that binds. Would we be expected to speak Punjabi if we move to India? Of course. Japanese if we move to Japan? Of course. So learn it. Now, I can understand, and there should be a period of grace for new immigrants, say 6 months, to try and learn the language. But you know what provincial governments are doing? They're cutting funding for learning English and French. Well, maybe not French in Quebec, because they protect that language incredibly well. And now I'm understanding the reason for it, because they were scared of losing it. But provincial governments in English-speaking Canada don't even fund English classes anymore. Now, should the immigrants have to pay at least something? Of course they should. Do they? No. Matter of fact, they get kind of a free ride. Here's Mario for the North.
Get special offers and benefits that Canadians don't get? Well, check this out. So this is from RBC, and it's called Newcomer Firsts. I'm assuming that's the branding that they put behind this, but it says, new to Canada, open your first checking account with RBC. Now here are the benefits. No monthly banking fee for the first year, up to 12% cash back with the new RBC Cashback MasterCard. I've never had that. Up to $15,000 credit limit and no credit history required. Wow. And you can do it all online in one application. Checking, credit card, savings. With them, you get unlimited debit transactions, free Interact, which I think we all get Interact for free, or do we pay for it? I don't know. No RBC fee. Use another bank's ATM in Canada. Wow. Zero fee international money transfer as often as you want to almost any country, including India, China, and the Philippines. I wonder why they would single out those countries specifically. Earn Avion points on your online and in-store debit purchases? I thought that was a credit card thing only. Anyways, free small safety deposit box for a year. And then as we saw this before, you can add a credit card with no credit history required. Special offer, they're giving nearly 5% interest on their deposits for 3 months. There's no monthly fee, minimum deposits or balance required. Free account transfers 24/7, no delay.
Heaven forbid that you should ask one of these folks to speak English in public, or speak clearly even. Now, you recall Mark Carney, when he first became prime minister, his first trip was over to Europe, right? He went and met with Macron, and then he met with Keir Starmer, who's the prime minister of the UK. He wants to tie us very closely with the EU and, of course, the UK, even closer with the UK as he moves away from our longtime ally and geographical neighbor, the United States of America. He wants to adopt these European values in Canada because Canada is the most European of non-European countries, is what he says. So what's going on over there in the UK and in Europe? Well, the same thing that Mark Carney wants to bring here. Watch this.
Apparently during some conversations between yourself, apparently you have alleged, we weren't here, so I don't know you've said it, but you've alleged to say, speak English, or what's that effect?
Speak clearly.
Speak clearly.
No,
okay.
the gentleman's partially deaf.
Yeah, he can speak clearly. Yeah.
So I couldn't even hear him.
No, and that's fine, and that's why we've just come to speak, because potentially someone could perceive that as a hate crime.
Did we just know this was going to happen?
No, I know.
People, you know, if someone says to me, officer, I believe this, then we need to look at it because someone's potentially reporting to me.
It's a hate crime. Apparently, BC has had a surge of hate crimes lately, so much so that they've had to add police to the hate crimes task force. And ironically, this piece from the CBC kind of shoots itself in the foot a little bit. Now, I would not suggest that asking somebody to speak English in public is a hate crime as much as it is standing up for your country and your culture. Am I right? Watch this piece, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Significant rise in hate crimes, BC has rolled out a plan to tackle the problem and improve public safety. Sarab Sandhu reports.
5 additional police officers and 1 intelligence analyst will join the BC Rcmp's hate crimes unit to deal with a rise of hate crimes across the province. Provincial data shows police reported hate crimes in
Listen to the guy doing the story. There's the irony of it, right?
BC rose by 23% between 2022 and 2023. Hate crimes motivated by race or ethnicity increased by 12%, while those linked to religion spiked by more than 50%, and incidents related to sexual orientation were up by 43%.
Over the past year alone, we have seen reprehensible acts of violence here in our province.
Have you?
Places of worship have been vandalized, treaty offices have been defaced, and innocent people have been targeted while going about their daily activities.
Beck says BC
Who? Can you be more specific?
is the only province in the country with a policing unit dedicated to addressing hate crimes. The RCMP says the team is currently reviewing more than 100 files per week where hate could be a motivating factor. The latest funding is part of a larger $230 million investment into provincial policing. In addition to expanding the team, the province says it has received $4 million from the federal government for a program aimed at preventing radicalized violence by supporting people at risk. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, let me ask you a question. I want to be completely and totally upfront here. We heard Saurabh Sandhu reporting for the CBC there. All right, fine. Is his English good enough to be working on English CBC? Could you understand him clearly with everything he said there? I spent years doing radio, and it was always speak clearly so people can understand. Don't mumble. Say the call letters clearly. Remember that Howard Stern movie, years and years ago when he was still cool? WNBC. That's exactly what it was like working in radio in my early years. They told you how to say the call letters of your radio station clearly so people would remember them. They told you what words to hit when you were speaking. Hit this word. That'll really bring the sentence to life. And now we've got a guy who can barely speak our language working and reporting for the CBC on our dollar. And we're supposed to sit back and say, that's fine. We're just supposed to roll over and give up our language. Now, look, he's trying to speak it. I can get behind that. Great. Good for you, man. But you're a couple years away from being able to express yourself clearly in English on the taxpayer-funded CBC, in my opinion. Now, if you want to talk about actual extremists, you guys heard of this guy? Zoran Mamdani. He is leading the general election poll for New York City mayor. Now, this guy is one of the worst extremists that you're ever going to hear about. Zoran Mamdani. He holds a 10-point lead over Andrew Cuomo in New York City's general election for mayor, while incumbent mayor Eric Adams is now in 4th place behind Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa, according to this poll. This guy might wind up being the next mayor of the largest city in North America. And here's a woman called Arzu Malik. who is a former aide of his. Listen to what she has to say.
Knows that none of this is in vain, that this is all jihad, that this is all ibadah, and that this is all counted for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the conversation of doxing, the conversation of getting arrested and suspended, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. And I know everybody has their own families and has an education and everything. It's just a question. We don't want to get doxxed, and we don't want to get suspended, and we don't want to get arrested. How gangsta are you? That's just my question. How much are you willing to do it? And I know everyone has their own risk levels, but at the end of the day, that's a question to ask ourselves. How committed am I to this? To what extent of my personal material gains am I willing to sacrifice for this bigger noble cause? And subhanAllah, I truly believe that when your heart is in the right place, if you get suspended, if you get doxxed, because it's bound to happen when you're doing a righteous cause and when you're doing something for the sake of Allah here in the West, it will never ever be in vain. And the true believer does not fear that, because the true believer knows that the akhirah is a promise.
She's talking about jihad in America. And we're the extremists. What kind of insane world are we living in here? And I'll tell you what else. Unless we start speaking up about it, unless we start showing... Okay, first of all, I want you to understand that the media and the government officials who are running this narrative, very small group of people. I would guarantee you that 75 to 80% of Canadians are behind us when it comes to what we traditionally are. Family, home, hearth, English, French. But many people don't seem to understand what Canada has become and where it's going. They're still living in 1999, for goodness sakes. They don't quite understand. And they say we're the ones living in 1999. Yeah, well, you know what? I wouldn't mind going back to 1999 right now. Bring some of those values back. But in the meantime, we are being usurped by extremists, actual ones, people like that, who want to run a jihad in North America, in the West. So start speaking up. Start saying something. You can say it online. You can say it to somebody's face. Hey, look, can you speak English, please? Or speak clearly. I can't understand you. It's not rude. We are in an English-speaking country. They're trying to normalize this stuff. We're in an English-speaking country. We deserve to hear our own language clearly. If we want to learn another language, like Spanish, you can learn Spanish and go live anywhere in South America pretty much, or Mexico, or Spain. You want to learn French, you can live in Quebec, you can live in France. Japanese, Punjabi, go to India. But this is Canada. We speak English here. And it's time we start standing up for it, or we're going to lose it. That I can guarantee you. Speaking about standing up for things, what about Billboard Chris? This guy's absolutely amazing, fighting for the rights of children. Here he is in a conversation with a young man that stopped to speak to him on the streets of Vancouver the other day.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Nice to meet you, Jonathan. I'm Chris, Billboard Chris.
Nice
I'm here filming a documentary with 1BC today about some of the child abuse going on in this hospital, specifically the practice of trying to change the sex of children with puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and they're doing double mastectomies on girls as well. You were riding by on your bike. You stopped to talk.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about this?
So I was just coming from dropping my kids off at summer camp just down the street, and I saw people who are putting some brave statements on themselves and standing up in front of a hospital that's filled with, I mean, it seems crazy to say this, but hate, and that you're going to get attacked potentially. Well, they're going to try to shame you at very least. And I figured that you need to hear that there's people who think
Whoa, that was wild. Okay, so sorry, guys. We had a bit of a power bump there. Let me see if I can bring that back up. That was wild, what just happened. Everything just kind of shut her down, but we can continue. Okay, let's start that video from the beginning. Keep going here.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Nice to meet you, Jonathan. I'm Chris, Billboard Chris. I'm here filming a documentary with 1BC today about some of the child abuse going on in this hospital, specifically the practice of trying to change the sex of children with puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and they're doing double mastectomies on girls as well. You were riding by on your bike. You stopped to talk.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about this?
So I was just coming from dropping my kids off at summer camp just down the street, and I saw people who are putting some brave statements on themselves and standing up in front of a hospital that's filled with, I mean, it seems crazy to say this, but hate, and that you're going to get attacked potentially. Well, they're going to try to shame you at very least, and I figured that you need to hear that there's people who think that what they're doing to kids is wrong, and I wanted to let you know that there's people out there who actually think that. So I gave you a thumbs up because I thought that you should see that. All these people here that are with you should see it, that you're not alone, but you're just the only people who are brave enough to stand here and do it.
Yeah.
But my wife is a physician at this hospital, and it's hard for her to do it because the entire establishment is all about, it seems irrational, but like, let's go and give these kids whatever we think is the right thing to do, and these things are not reversible. You can't turn around and change your mind after you start this path.
That's right. Time is not reversible. There's no time machine where they get to go from 18 years of age back to 12 so they can go through puberty again. Once those years are gone, they're gone. And these kids end up harmed for life. So...
But what I wanted to make sure I communicated to you is how brave you are and how hard it is to have this kind of opinion in this town. It is so hard to have that opinion because it is actually dangerous for yourself. It's dangerous for your economic well-being. It's dangerous for your online profile if you have one. So I wanted to make sure you knew that you have support, even though those people aren't out here with the billboards, but they feel like they should be, or they want to be, but they can't.
Yeah.
But you're speaking for everybody here who wants to be doing this, and they just don't know how or not brave enough to do it.
Thank you. I've been at this almost 5 years, and I do know that more than 90% of the population supports this message. This is truth. We shouldn't be stopping the development of perfectly healthy children because they've been taught that they were born in the wrong body, which is so nonsensical. We should be telling them they're beautiful just as they are. This is the progressive message. This is the kind and loving message, not that they need to be something they're not. So thank you so much for speaking up.
Some visitors over here, it seems like.
Oh yeah, security's always coming.
Okay.
Never takes long.
Well, I just want to say you guys are brave. Thank you for speaking for me and probably hundreds and hundreds of people in this neighborhood who are afraid to, because they're afraid of being canceled out or being called anti-something. I mean, I just want, let them be 18 and decide for themselves. They don't have to do it when they're 10 years old.
Yeah, and your wife's a physician and she feels like she can't even speak up, right?
I think that it's not a popular opinion. It's hard to have unpopular opinions in a system like the one we have here.
Right. Well, we're going to change this and we're going to make it the popular opinion and the only acceptable opinion. But thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I've been speaking up a long time about this. Billboard Chris has been speaking up a long time about this. Maybe you have as well, in a different way. You might not like to hear what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. If we all stand up and speak out about this nonsense, it's over in a week. I'm not kidding. Maybe less. You got people like Raylan Fox, who's been served with a lawsuit because she's speaking up to get rid of the porn in public schools and libraries. Seriously. We're going to find out more about that next week. You got people like Katie speaking up about saving farm animals in this country. They're being culled left, right, and center. You're not hearing about it because the left-wing corporate media is not reporting on it because it's standard. It's not even newsworthy anymore. I'm going to kill 1,000 head of cattle in Saskatchewan. Apparently, some bovine virus is going around. We're going to kill 1,000 chickens in Abbotsford. H5N1, you know. So she's trying to stand up for all of these farmers all across the country. She's speaking up. Do you know how many people have joined her publicly to speak up? 0. If we all, and I'm not talking about getting your own show together. I mean, if you want to, do it. I'm talking about in day-to-day life. Instead of ignoring the fact that when you go into a Tim Hortons and you see that the 7 people working there are all immigrants, are all speaking Punjabi behind the counter, completely and totally cutting you out of their conversation. And this is what I mean when I say this. Like our culture is losing its adhesion because of this. And now, because there's so many of them coming here all at once in the last 3 or 4 years, they don't even need to learn our languages anymore. And they will quickly become the majority, and our language will be gone. We will be the secondary society. This is how Aboriginal peoples must have felt in the 17 and 1800s when all the Europeans came over. And yes, some of their leaders sold them out as well, just like what's going on right now. So if you say something at the Tim Hortons like, hey, how come you guys are all like immigrants? Where's the regular Canadians? It might be seen as a little bit rude, but so what? We got to stand up, man. If we don't, we're done. It's game over. Over 400,000 newcomers in Canada in the first quarter of 2025. 400,000. All right, let's move on here. Talk about the Epstein thing. Of course, what happened yesterday and the day before, the memo came out, said he killed himself, said there is no client list. That's the memo from the Department of Justice and from the FBI. So, of course, there's been all kinds of opinions flying around online about this. And I found this guy here, Keith Junta from the Jesus Smart podcast, with an interesting take. Watch.
Hey, everyone. This is a quick update on my thoughts on the Epstein case. I'm actually about to go into the prayer room and lead worship, one of my favorite nights of the week. But what we're watching with these Epstein files and the suicide, and I don't watch cable news. I don't read the New York Times. I haven't watched or listened to any of the corporate mainstream-owned media. But many of you know I work in the Philippines rescuing girls from the grips of sex trafficking. It is one of the deepest, darkest chambers of hell you can ever consider. And here in this country, it's kept very clean. It's kept very well hidden. Where in the Philippines, it's out in the street. And Jeffrey Epstein was clearly an operative. Just a quick biography of this man, you realize something's not right. But now Attorney General Bondi, who I predict will be gone before the end of the month, she's now been caught lying. That's never a good sign. Today in the press conference, Press Secretary Leavitt, I believe, lied from the podium. They are now trying to say that what was on her desk wasn't the client list. It was just a stack of nebulous files concerning the topic. Very bad. And then Trump today in his cabinet meeting, along with Bondi, just made extremely unwise remarks. And I'll tell you, I'll just get right to it. What I think is happening, two things. One, despite what the media has told you, I do trust this administration. That's just me. I don't think they are a well-oiled machine of liars. I think these are good people. I think Leavitt and Bondi and Trump, I know many disagree with that. I don't think they are what the media paints them to be. And now They have to lie, and they're doing a horrible job. They should never have released the surveillance video. That was debunked so quickly. So what I think is happening, we are up against a principality of hell. These are chief prince rulers of darkness that govern the trafficking and pedophilia world in ways that we don't even want to imagine. If that list was released, I believe nations could be brought down, not just our favorite movie stars. So if nothing else, this whole thing should bring us to our knees. It should drive us to our knees in prayer, because what's happening is not of this world.
No. We played you a video, I think yesterday or maybe the day before, Chris Sky railing on Alex Jones for saying kind of the same thing, but not really. Alex Jones extrapolated that Donald Trump was actually keeping the files for himself so he could reverse blackmail all of the secret service or secret spies from Israel and blah, blah, blah. And Sky was furious about that, and for good reason. First of all, Alex was probably making it up. I know Trump. I know Trump, and I know that he's not that kind of a guy. He's not in the files, and that would have been revealed anyway by the other side. Okay. But for Trump to be doing something with these files in reverse blackmail against who? I don't know. That seemed kind of far-fetched to me. But what this guy says makes some sense. If you can scare the president of the United States into capitulation and all of his secretaries, all of the officials, the FBI, everybody, if you can scare them into capitulation, what are you holding over their heads? How bad is it exactly? What cards are you holding? Now, is it something like barnyard sex? No, I think it's a whole other level. But who is holding this over their heads? If this is real, who is it? Is it Mossad? Is it Israel? Or is it something worse? This is the kind of stuff we talk about a lot in the extension on shadowdavis.com. And tonight we're going to go into a little bit more about the Texas floods, the tragedy there, and what it might mean going forward. Not the death that we've seen, but the weather event that we saw. You guys know John McAfee? He's a rich guy. He's kind of a weird guy. He developed McAfee virus software. Then apparently died of suicide by hanging, even after leaving a note saying, "I'm not suicidal." Well, he left this a few years ago regarding Epstein. Now, it's going to be annoying to you because McAfee's going back and forth in his chair and it's squeaking and there's some music behind it, but try and listen to what he says here.
Members of our government have crossed the line, not in suiciding Jeffrey Epstein, if in fact they did, but in giving a story to us, the American public, expecting us to believe it. Now, this is the line they crossed. Well, this is a story. Let me tell it to you. 2 weeks ago, Jeffrey Epstein was hospitalized for some sort of neck trauma. We had no public explanation. He was placed on suicide watch, meaning you have a camera watching in your cell, guards checking on you every half of an hour, and generally you're bound in some way so that you cannot harm yourself. He told prison guards a week ago and his cellmate that people were trying to kill him. That just came out. The cameras in that area, oddly enough, were misplaced or misfocused, so they were not focused on Jeffrey's cell. His cellmate was transferred out of the cell just hours before his suicide. And the prison guards that were supposed to check on him every half hour did not. They were asked to leave early. Maintenance was about to happen. Seriously, they expect us to believe it, or if at least not to believe it, to be satisfied with it to the extent that we're not going to raise our voice, yell out in the streets. They are taking us for idiots, or they are taking us for frightened sheep, knowing what's going on, but knowing we will do nothing. Nothing. Well, I'm doing something. I'm speaking out at least. You can do the same. Please give me people. Thank you.
Trump said yesterday, well, you still talking about Epstein? We've got the Texas floods. We've got a lot of great things going on. You still want to talk about this vile scumbag? Yes. Because we care about taking down a massive child trafficking operation. And again, I'll say it. Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for 20 years if there were no clients? I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of comedy tonight. You may have heard about the viral golf fight. Videos all over the internet. And apparently this involves an ex-NHLer. So if you're not a golfer, what happens is there's a pace of play thing, right? And if there's people in front of you who are going too slow, etiquette demands that you let the group behind you play through. And any group that catches you to play through if you're playing too slow. This happens a lot when you've got people out there who are just learning the game. You just let the group behind you play through. You don't ask any questions, but sometimes it becomes a question of machismo, right? Like people trying to somehow force their will on the golf course, and they're not moving no matter what. And sometimes they'll even make a point of taking way too long just to settle down the group behind who may have been yelling at them for a couple of holes. But sometimes a fight breaks out. Now, what's the guy's name? Nick Barnosky? Is that his name? He's an ex-NHL enforcer. Let me see here. I've got the Tarnasky from Rocky Mountain House in Alberta. Is it Nick Tarnasky? Anyway, Tarnasky gets into a fight with the guy in front of him. Now, the guys in front of them had been sitting for 23 minutes, and Tarnasky finally loses it. But he doesn't do anything. He waits for the other guy to do something. So here, you might go, oh my God, on a golf course? And yes, there is some violence in this. But I also find it to be rather amusing. Because one guy got his ass kicked. The guy who should have got his ass kicked got his ass kicked. So here you go.
Get the fuck up there or you're going to get booted the fuck out of here.
Oh, language warning.
Enough. You're not a tough guy. Hurry up. I'll fucking promise you that. Hurry up. He's pretty tough. Not that fucking tough.
No, he's not.
Not that fucking tough.
He's not tough.
No, he's pretty tough.
He's not tough.
Fucking tough.
You're not tough.
Okay, this guy here, the guy, the bearded guy, that's the guy and his buddy who were causing the problem. Tarnasky and his buddies, you can't see them on video yet.
You're not tough.
Let's get going.
Get going.
These are the two guys causing the issue right here.
Or you can play behind us all and you can take all the fucking time you want. This is
golf.
fucking
You're not
embarrassing.
tough.
This is golf. This is not golf.
It's not.
You can stand there 15 fucking minutes.
You
That's
can't
not
even.
golf.
You guys can't even stand
up.
and tee your ball up now.
He's not teeing it up. He's standing
Do
there.
we need to get the
moron.
police out here?
No, we don't need police. We're not.
Okay, then let's get going here.
Let's go. Pick your shit up and get going. This is not fun. We're what? I'm gonna throw him in this fucking lake. Is what's gonna happen. No, fuck you both. This is fucking bullshit. They've been sitting there for fucking 23 minutes.
This is about to get really good. Really good.
Fucking try about it.
Here we go.
Fucking pussy. I'm a pussy. Like, fucking try about it. Buddy, you're gonna get fucking shit to. I don't give a fuck. Like, badly. Good. Let's fucking go, man. Buddy. Oh. You don't want to go.
No, I'm not filming this. I'm not stopping. No. You guys need to get off the golf course.
Yeah, we will, man.
No, now. Like, pack up Go now. Get in your car and go.
I don't know what you're doing. You're not scaring anybody. You're just making yourself.
Hey, man. Come on, man. Hey.
So he throws him in the lake there.
Start, buddy. I fucking told you.
Man, leave him alone. You want another?
He just fucking came at me.
Leave him alone, man. I got it all on record.
It's around the goal.
I got it all on record.
Around the goal. Hey, you wanna fucking go, guys?
Leave him alone. Hey, leave him alone, man.
I wouldn't keep going back, you fucking moron.
Hey.
Bang!
Come on, man.
Bang!
No, I'm not trying to get in there.
Oh.
Enough! Are you still cheering on you? Enough! Get out!
Hey.
Whoa.
Enough! Hey,
Leave him.
get him the fuck out of here! No, it's not gonna go well for
It's not okay.
Take him home or get him fucking out of here. Fucking get moving! I said stop looking like an idiot!
Get out of here.
Fucking
Viral all over social media. Moral of the story? Let the group behind you play through, man. Just that's all you got to do. Let them play through. Everybody enjoys their day. Okay, we're going to go more into the Texas flooding in just a second on the extension for you All Access Nighthawks. And for the rest of you guys, there is no show tomorrow night, like I said off the top. I will be posting live video on all of the various social media that you follow on over the weekend. So I'll be doing it on Facebook. I'll be throwing some stuff up on YouTube. I'll be throwing some stuff up on X, and some exclusive stuff for you All Access folks, like probably a sit-down conversation with Tamara Leach and a few other folks on the website, shadowdavis.com. So only you All Access folks will be able to see that stuff. And then next week, when Katie and her mom are in Ottawa for the appeal, and that's going to be on Tuesday, I'm going to be hanging around the farm, just keeping an eye on things, and coming back the following week. However, I am bringing the studio with me, so I will be doing the regular show from BC next week. So no show tomorrow. I will be on the road. I'll be back on Friday on all the various social media and shadowdavis.com. The extension begins in just a couple of minutes. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I hope to see you at Ostrich Fest this weekend in Edgewood, British Columbia, 301 Langill Road in Edgewood, British Columbia. We'll be right back with the extension in just a second.